Ladies and gentlemen, this poor young woman, Shanika McNeil, her eyes swelled shut. Her face, you can see her whole face is really swollen. And this is the result of using hair dye. This is why if you're going to put anything in your hair, you should do a patch test. It is really important to see what kind of reaction you're going to have 24 hours before you do something. So I don't know whether she did that or not. It doesn't say it in the article at all, but what she went through would scare anybody. So she bought some hair dye and she decided to do it herself. So she dyed and she said she looks like an emojicon. So the Texas woman said she was left looking like an emoji after a horrific hair dye reaction, causing her face to balloon up to cartoonish proportions. I was laughing at myself because I looked so extremely funny. Shanika McNeil, 29, told Kennedy News of the cosmetic catastrophe, which occurred after she got her hair colored. While the procedure initially went off without a hitch, pretty soon she noticed something was terribly wrong. I dyed my hair myself on Sunday evening and it was fine. I had no issues, the Houston native described. Then in the morning, I woke up. I had a headache and it lasted all day. And then, probably around 3 p.m., I noticed I had this line around my forehead and a rash. Wow. All of a sudden, McNeil was beset by multiple symptoms simultaneously. My scalp started burning like it was on fire, and then I used a napkin and could tell my scalp was oozing. She described adding that as the hours went by, I noticed my forehead was getting puffier. Alarmed at the sudden onset, the petrified girl reported to the doctor, who informed her that she suffered an allergic reaction to an ingredient in the dye called PPD, Kennedy reported. So, according to Healthline symptoms, this condition can range from mild itching and swelling to even a person going into shock and dying. All of that from hair dye, y'all. Hair dye. So she said she did contact the medics, and when they came out, they gave her antihistamines and steroids to help combat the swelling, which she said it did alleviate her pain, leading her to believe that she thought she was going to be okay, especially after the headache went away. Well, little did she know that the symptoms would rear their ugly head once again, and it got worse. It got worse. Every hour I looked at myself and my forehead was getting bigger and the swelling was worse. McNeil recalled her unfortunate case of hyperinflation. It looked like I was an emoji. It was very weird. My whole family was panicking because I looked so strange. A lot of people said I looked like I was in a fight. So, ladies and gentlemen, she, eventually got so scared that she called her doctor, but not before her eyes started to swell shut completely. And her eyes were shut for a few days, just like you see in the picture here. So, despite administering the antihistamines, her symptoms continued to snowball. The swelling moved from her forehead to the middle of her face, so her eyes were completely swollen shut and burning. So, okay. So she said that she was completely terrified by what was happening to her. So she tried ice, thinking the ice would help with the swelling, but it actually continued to get worse. And after she was using the ice, she got bruises under her eyes from the swelling that got even worse. I mean, yeah, a lot of people use ice for inflammation, but in her case, I guess the allergic reaction was so bad and so severe, the ice really wasn't having much impact. So McNeil's family started to worry about her reaction, so she called her doctor for advice. The medic advised her to go to the hospital. The swelling could move because they told her the swelling could move down to her throat and she could literally die. So when she arrived to the hospital, and by the way, I don't know why the story read that way, but the medics did take her to the hospital, but they advised her to go because the swelling could move down to her throat and she could die. But she was taken to the hospital by the medics. I just wanted to make that clear. So when she arrived at the hospital, the medics were reportedly shocked at her puffy appearance. So this was from the drive to her house to the hospital, the swelling got worse. So they prescribed more steroids and antihistamine, whereupon at last McNeil's emoji swelling began to subside. So she said it was probably there about 3 to 4 hours before the swelling stopped. And then they let her go. They let her go. So they kept her at the hospital to make sure the antihistamines and the steroids were working. And then she was released. Mm-mm-mm. Unfortunately, the reaction is a residual effect, including um, using baby shampoo for weeks. So she had to use a very sensitive, mild kind of shampoo because her scalp was also impacted by the swelling. So, in addition, McNeil's claim that the ordeal left her with bald spots, eczema, and a scalp so sensitive that it hurts even if she combs her hair. Wow. Well, I'm glad she's okay. I'm going to show you what she normally looks like. Okay, so when she's not all swollen, this is what she normally looks like. So I'm glad she's okay. And she said a lot of people in her comments said, of course they were worried about her. And some of the people that were subscribed to her on social media said they had a similar reaction to hair dye, and and they express what happened to them. And this is why they're telling you to do a patch test every time you use dye or really any kind of chemical that you intend on putting in your hair. You should do a patch test. Even if you've done it multiple times, you should do it because ingredients change all the time, all the time. So she said, I've told people to do a patch test every time they use dye. And if you are sensitive to it, look for a dye that does not have PPD in it. So they said she is definitely not the first person to have this experience. Back in 2019, a UK woman was temporarily blinded by PPD, which is a side effect that caused her face to triple in size. Well, that is scary. That is scary. I don't use a lot of dyes, but the few times that I do, I always use the temporary dye, and I've never had any issues with it. But Nevertheless, y'all, if you plan on putting something in your hair, just be very careful. For real. It is not worth you even running the chance of being in the same position as this young woman, or even could die. I mean, it's hard to believe hair dye can kill you like that over just this one ingredient in it, but it certainly can happen. But y'all, please tell me what you think, and I'm glad this young woman is okay. Shanika McNeil. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.